Righto, welcome back. All right, so it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, and this is going to be like a bit of an update. And as you can see here, I mean, last week, I think after this trade on Tuesday, um, yeah, I think I just basically had to take a break. Like, yeah, I just had to take a break. I started off the week just not following the rules, especially with the Apex account. So yeah, so I was just, did I do a video on this one? I think I did. So this is what the trade looked like. Thought I saw a much structure shift here, and then I went long on that fair value gap, trying to get five handles, come back, stop me out, and kept going lower. So I watched a few of the other days, but like I was saying in the last video, I went back and started to look at what was actually working and yeah, sort of took a bit of a higher time frame approach. I really sort of like looked at like things and like my work schedule and like the other things that I got to do in my day and my my life. Like we all have responsibilities and stuff like that and things we got to do right like outside of trading. So I can't be in front of the charts every single morning session. So I've sort of rotated back to a longer term outlook or not like a longer term outlook but like a more longer term day trading approach. When I say day trading I mean like day like getting the daily range in a sense. So but I did take a trade on Thursday and this wasn't on the Apex, so this was a forex trade. But I got stopped out. But in hindsight though, this really wasn't following the rules I set out for this kind of trade again. So, and this is why, like, I basically took after this one, I just took the rest of the week off. I took Friday off. I had the weekend, like I worked the weekend, and I just put basically trading. I put this last week. I just put it out of my mind, and I said I'm going to come back fresh this week and I'm going to follow my rules, and that's what I'm doing. So, quick look on this trade though. So this was euro. I seen these relative equal highs get taken out here. 5 minute chart. Thought I saw a breakdown, break in my structure there through that short term low. Uh, got short and then just basically went against me straight away. Uh, Straight away. Didn't even really have. Oh, I had like I would have been a little bit in profit there, a few pips, but really not good. But if you can look at the chart and have a look here, all right, what did we just do? Like what did we just do in euro? We took out two weekly low levels, okay, and that's what these yellow lines are here. Weekly low, weekly low. So we just took them out, okay, and then on this day on the 30th, we drop down once more, okay, through yesterday's low there and more through the weekly lows. And then we come back up and we have an explosion upwards. And really, I'm looking at it in a shorter term sense of, okay, it's taken out relative equal highs. I want to see it go lower. When actually, if you reverse it, okay, it's taken out a weekly level, a higher time frame level. That relative equal high, or like those highs there, so these highs, or at least this high here, this high and this high being relative equal, but this high here, that would actually be the reverse, and that would be the market structure shift high that it takes out, and then now we are looking to go higher. So, like I said, The premise behind the short though was there's a daily fair value gap down here, which is the green shaded area. That's why I wanted to see it go lower. I thought that this was too shallow of a run for a weekly level. That's why I thought it was going to come lower, and at least dip into this first and then potentially go up. Okay, I was wrong on that trade. That's all good. Um, and oh, that's just a bit of a zoomed out approach. So it goes up, takes out. So once it stops me, it takes out the daily high, creates a high. Oh, excuse me. Takes a high, makes a high here, retraces, and then runs out the other daily high from, uh, I think Tuesday. So, um, yeah, and that's the trade there on my live account. Only $20, but at the current point in time, because I've taken a few losses, and what my risk management protocol says is that I'm risking 0.25% right now per trade. Okay. Now I can risk a maximum of 2%, or even 2.5%. I don't really think I have any leverage to go above 2.5% per trade, but I can risk 2%, and I have risked 2% before, and that the percentage risk doesn't affect me, but my risk management protocol, I've taken a few losses, so therefore I have to cut my risk in half each time, and 0.25% is the minimum, like that's the floor. Okay, I suppose you could go lowering risk zero point 0.2, 0.15 and zero point 0.1 or something like that, but I feel like 0.25 is enough, and that is my lowest amount of leverage basically that I'm going to be using. So I'm sticking to that here. The FTMO's the same one, okay, 0.25, and it's the exact same trade, so I got stopped out there. But this brings us on to this current week. So I haven't put it in my journal yet, but this is the current trade that I'm in the British pound, and I I entered short yesterday. Well, last night for me, but on Monday's trading, we are technically on the Tuesday candle now because it's past 5 p.m. New York, but as you can see, we're still in Asia, so we haven't ticked over to Tuesday yet for New York. But the premise behind this trade was I didn't actually what's the word? I I wasn't super confident in this trade because I wanted to see it retrace 50%. So I was looking at this high down to this low, and I was looking at this low here being swept as a market structure shift. Okay. But it never retraced up to the 50% and only went up into this hourly gap. Okay, that's all good. Then we started to roll over. So this is Sunday opening, by the way. Then in Monday's trading, we basically just run lower and we go through this daily low. Okay. Now that's all well and good. But again, I wanted to see it potentially go from this high here. Oh, that's not the one I need. I need the fib. I wanted to see it go from this high here. Okay, and I wanted to see it retrace 50%. Okay, it did that. Okay, it did that. And it went into an hourly fair value gap. Okay, so for some reason, I wasn't super confident in taking the trade. I think because if I have a look at Euro didn't really look all that fantastic. Euro didn't take out the weekly high. It only took out this daily high here. Well, the intra-week high that it created on Monday. It took it out on Friday. And yeah, it's sort of been a bit more lethargic. Like it's sort of had its retracements back and forth. But if I look at the British pound, okay, as you can see here, like what's this level here, okay? a weekly high. The not the pre no, not this week here. Okay. So when I sort of analyzed this British pound trade, I started to look and I went, hang on a second. Okay, it's ticked like every box. It's taken out a weekly level. Okay. My checklist is weekly or monthly level. Can be a daily level, but if it's going to be a daily level, it's really only going to take out that daily level and then like as a stop run and then continue to a weekly level or a monthly level, right? So that would be like, um, I'm trying to find an example. I guess kind of like on the British pound anyway. That would be like this here. That would be like Thursday taking out Wednesday's low and then continuing up to take out, daily high, and then this weekly high. Okay. Because on the euro on Wednesday and Thursday, it did take out its weekly levels. And then, as you can see, we reverse. So I can use that in that regard, but really, I'm really waiting for a reversal off of a weekly or a monthly level. Okay, so this trade here, all right, we take out the weekly high, okay, on Thursday. Now, is there a breakdown? Okay, well, there's this little run here, okay, but it's just retracing into this gap, okay, and, that's a kind of, okay, it went 12 pips, okay, that's not too bad, but, it's a bit of a shallow sort of lethargic run. As you can see, it sort of consolidates around that high, okay, retracement into this gap, and then we blast one more time higher through, all right, on Friday. So now that I've seen it do this, and I've seen it run, where's that wick? And I've seen it run, 58 pips through the weekly high, okay, that's significant. Like I'm thinking in my mind, okay, that's significant, right? Okay, yep. And then we broke down on Friday, okay? And like I said, I was looking at this as a potential point of like a market structure shift here, but it didn't really follow my rules because that's technically not a daily level. Okay, the daily low is here. For Friday's trading, it's here, this green line. Okay, so then when I see it break down on Monday with a gap and it taking out Friday's low, okay, now and we're back below the weekly high. Okay, so we've broken down, retraced on Sunday, consolidation here basically on Sunday after a little gap higher, and then we break down aggressively on Monday, retrace in the New York session, and then at 10 o'clock we dive one more time lower. Okay, so basically when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this has actually ticked every box. Okay, so like I said, going from this high down to this low, we've retraced above 50%. Okay, we've got a fair value gap. We've taken out a daily level now. We're back below the weekly high after a rejection. Okay, a very obvious. Like this is obvious, right? It's not some little, it's not some little shallow run here, like where it just, because you could look at this and go, oh well, it took out this swing low here, and there's a fair value gap there. Okay, like there's a fair value gap there, right? But it's not like, like this run was, where it run 75 points or 75 pips. So that's why I decided to take this trade. Now, I didn't get in exactly at the fair value gap, but I was happy with my entry here where it was, and I was still following my rules of getting in at or above the 50% level. So, above the 50% ideally, but getting in at exactly 50% or above for a short, or exactly 50% or below for a long, that still follows my rules. So, and like it went up into this gap. So I'm more than happy with this entry. And then as you can see, the subsequent next two hourly candles just fall off and I get my first partial. So this here was a partial, okay, at 1-to-1, right? This is why this portion of the trade has been taken off. Now I was trading 0.03 lots because that's what my risk said for my stop was above here initially. It was like 38.8. Yeah. So my stop was above this high here. I'll just take that off. So my stop was above this high here initially for 38 pips, and then when it got to here, my stop rolls to break even, or not break even, but plus 2.5, plus 2 to 3, 2.5, somewhere around that to account for the commission costs for Forex. One good thing I tell you about trading CFDs like the Nasdaq or the US 500 is this broker that I'm using actually has no fees on indices, so which is kind of good, I guess. But uh, I'm using a commission. You can use. There's two accounts you can get with Pepperstone anyway, and I think it's probably the same with most brokers. You can get a commission-based account, or you can get a spread-based account. I would just rather pay the commissions and get the entry price that I want. As you can see, the British pound right now has a 0.1 spread. Okay, sometimes it goes to 0, but it's about 0.1, right? So if I'm getting in at this price, right? I'm not having to fight 5 pips for spread or something like that, because that's how the broker's making their commission. If you're not paying them commission, okay, they're making money through the spread that they create for you, and they can artificially move and create the spread, to whatever the hell they want. So uh, I'll just pay the commission. It's literally not even that much on this kind of lot sizes and stuff. So, but stops being moved to break even. And this is where I'm targeting. I'm targeting these relative equal lows. Okay, these are still my target. These two lows. Okay, the euro. All right, this was that daily level that I was looking for. So previous week's low and that daily fair value gap. All right, that's where I'm looking at it to go. And then if we look at something like a dollar CAD, which will show us the inverse because we're looking at dollar first. On dollar CAD, I'm looking at it to take out these two relative equal highs. The dollar Swiss, I have this hourly fair value gap and this weekly high, and now this previous week's high here also makes another sort of relative equal highs. But the dollar Swiss is looking like it could just come up into some of this down movement here, this inefficient movement here on Thursday, and then potentially go lower, but we'll have to wait and see for that. And then the Aussie is basically doing, I don't need that alert now, is basically doing the same. It took out the weekly high, wasn't as clear, but then or not as clear here on Sunday anyway, but then on Monday we have drop down in London, retracement, drop down at the end of London there, retracement into this gap here, and then we're dropped down and then we're way down here again. So to be fair, the Aussie also following my rules outlined, takes out a weekly level, reverses by taking out a daily low, so we're switched now, opposite, okay, and you had two opportunities here to get in on either of these two fair value gaps. So the Aussie also had a trade, the Euro Aussie, which I also like trading. Not really anything that I saw there. I don't trade the Euro Pound, but I do sometimes look at that as analysis, and I've quickly shown you those other two. But the main focus on this video was this British pound trade, and this is following my rules. Now I'm following my rules. This trade here, by all means, has followed my rules. Weekly level taken out, daily low now, reversal, okay? We're back below the weekly high. We've taken out a daily low, okay, with displacement. We've retraced into a gap and into 50%, okay, or we're above 50%, okay? And I have a relative equal weekly lows as a target. So not some, relative equal just short-term little lows. Uh, we're talking about a weekly level. Okay, we're at 2 weekly levels. All right, and my risk management has been flawless. Now, to be fair, I actually had this trade going on CTrader. CTrader allows you to do this cool protection thing where you can put in like multiple take profit levels, and it'll move your stop automatically to break even after a certain amount of stuff. So I set that up last night. Yeah, I set that up last night, and I left it going, and yeah, so once it hit my 1-to-1 here, which is this level here, once it hit 1-to-1, took my first partial off, it automatically moved my stop to break even. So yeah, so that's good. So risk management, if I get stopped out on this last portion here, I literally don't care. Okay, I literally don't care. I've followed my rules. I've gotten in at a place where my strategy says I'm meant to get in. The outline and focus for the trade, the targets have been identified down here as the two lows. The reversal after taking out the weekly high and then coming back down, taking out Friday's low, that's ticked off the list. And the risk management procedure has been ticked off. And if it comes back and stops me out, I literally don't care. I've taken my partial. My stop covers my commissions, and we just have to wait and see. This could take me out to like tomorrow, like on Tuesday. It could continue lower aggressively and go to my target, But whatever happens, I'm happy because I paid myself, and we've taken our first partial at exactly the place we're meant to take it. So I'm happy about this trade, and we just got to keep doing this. This is the premise. This is the whole premise of my strategy, and I need to just wait and do this. But like I said, Euro didn't follow my strategy, and that's why I didn't take a trade in it, because it didn't take out this weekly level. It failed to do that. It took out Monday's high, yes, okay, and then broke down. But we didn't really, it would have been better if it did take out that weekly high, okay, and then broke down, right? You could have used that. But this is one good thing that I like about Forex, is that, sometimes it's not going to do that, and the same as, like look at the euro. So the euro last week on Wednesday and Thursday takes out its previous week and this week back here. It takes out weekly lows here and then reverses higher, but fails to take out that weekly high. Whereas pound did basically the opposite. Okay, pound fails to take out that weekly low there. Okay, this weekly low is just anchored to Thursday now, but on Wednesday and Thursday it failed to take out that low. Okay, but then it reverses and takes out this high, whereas euro doesn't. So you gotta, you can use different pairs, okay, and you find the one that just ticks all the boxes, okay? Like I said, this trade here, this is exactly what I was doing at the end of last year when I was having really good success, was literally this here. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. So I'm going to hold myself accountable by saying this on camera, but that's what I'm going to keep doing. So yeah, anyway, I'll come back tomorrow or Wednesday or whenever this trade plays out, whether it gets stopped out or whether it goes to my target, and I'll do another video on it. But at the moment, this is the trade that I'm in, and I just wanted to make an update on what's going on. I haven't traded the Apex account. Like I didn't trade that today. I was looking at ES, but didn't really see anything at the 9:30 opening. It was kind of choppy back and forth here. It closed its regular trading hours gap, took off running, closed this big gap in from 6 o'clock. I don't know what happened here. I think maybe some news come out at 6 o'clock, but absolutely tanked just there. But it runs up, takes out this high here, and then reverses and just goes lower. I looked at this area here on a 1 minute chart, but there really wasn't anything that I saw in terms of like a market structure shift. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, this big drop here, you could have seen that as a market structure shift, but uh, it never retraced into like this gap or anything. So there was never really a trade necessarily to be taken on ES. I wasn't watching NQ. Something might have happened in the Nasdaq. It could have done that. So, but yeah, I think this video's gone on for a little bit now, but that's just the update. And yeah, I'll let this trade play out, and later on in the week when we either hit my target or we get stopped out, I'll do another update video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.